It gives me great pleasure to introduce our Secretary of Veterans Affairs. Secretary Robert A. McDonald is a 1975 graduate of the United States Military Academy at West Point. He's an alumnus of the University of Utah, where he earned an MBA, an Army veteran, both airborne and Ranger. He served with the 82nd Airborne Division. Upon leaving service, Captain McDonald was awarded the Meritorious Service Medal. In 1980, Mr. McDonald joined Procter & Gamble, a Fortune 50 company, and he rose through the ranks to become Chief Executive Officer and President. He retired in June of 2013. Nominated by President Obama as the 8th Secretary of Veterans Affairs on June 30th, he was confirmed by the United States Senate on July 29th, 2014. As a Cincinnati native myself, an Airborne Ranger, it is my special honor to welcome the 8th Secretary of the Department of Veterans Affairs, Robert A. McDonald.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to thank Joe Johnson for that kind introduction, and to all of you here in Las Vegas, thank you for that warm welcome. This is an important conference at an important moment in time in VA's history, and it's an honor and a privilege to give my very first address as Secretary of Veterans Affairs to the disabled American veterans. I first met Commander Joe along with Randy Reese and Ed Hartman about 4 weeks ago at a benefit in Cincinnati, not far from where Judge Robert Marks founded DAV. Joe, Randy, Ed, and more were there supporting the National Multiple Sclerosis Society and me. Joe, it was a real pleasure to talk with you that evening, and I'm really glad to see you here again today. Congratulations on your tremendous work for the veterans this past year as DAV's National Commander. And with your great leadership, most recently through some difficult and turbulent times, DAV has kept its focus squarely on veterans and what's best for them, just as it has since 1920. DAV's contributions to VA reform discussions on Capitol Hill and across the nation have been of great help, without ever compromising the strong support and confidence that you have given to VA for so long. Moving forward, that sort of counsel is going to remain invaluable to me, and I look forward to hearing it. Thank you. Please let me also recognize a few other DAV leaders. National Adjutant Mark Burgess, Art Wilson, past National Adjutant and 47 years with DAV, and now heading DAV's National Service Foundation. Thank you for that long and continuing example of service. My friend Gary Augustine, Barry Janowski, Susan Miller, Judy Heslop, good morning to all of you. It's a real privilege for me to be here. Just yesterday, I was in Phoenix at the VA Medical Center, my first stop as the new secretary. Over these next several months, I'm going to keep traveling extensively to hear directly from employees, from veterans, and from other stakeholders. Here's what I learned in Phoenix. I talked to Bob. Bob's a peer counselor. This is what Bob told me. This place saved my life. It gave me counseling when I needed it, It gave me a hip replacement, and now I'm an employee. I talked to Dave, who was a combat psychologist. He chose VA to work in over a civilian clinic. He said that here in Phoenix, he knew that they did 13 psychological evaluations a day and 3 patient walk-ins who didn't have appointments. He said he had never seen that in the private sector when he worked as a psychologist there. And he told me, I'm proud to work at VA. The bottom line is there are good people there. They care about serving veterans, and they're working hard to fix that system so that they provide superior service to all veterans. And I've learned over the years that it's the technicians and the specialists, those closest to the customer, the veteran, who provide the most innovative solutions. We're on their team, and they have our support. Now, VA Phoenix has become an unfortunate nickname, quote, the epicenter. It's a term associated with disaster. That's a bad reputation to have, and it's going to take time and action to change it. But Phoenix is not really the epicenter, and Joe talked about this. The problems we've discovered in Phoenix were systemic, extending well beyond one location and one moment in time. And the Phoenix story is about more than just a crisis in veteran access. To be sure, it's a story of failed leadership, but it's also a story of some dedicated people who have had the moral courage to stand up and help serve us veterans better. And so I was there yesterday to thank them for that. Listen, coming face to face with reality, as some of the issues that some veterans have endured, isn't a disaster. I want to hear your stories. I want to hear when we're not serving you well. This, for me, is not a disaster, it's an opportunity. Testifying to Congress, our Deputy Secretary and my West Point classmate, a great leader and a great friend, Sloan Gibson, put it like this, I quote, "We can turn these challenges into the greatest opportunity for improvement in the history of the Veterans Affairs Department." And the former president of the Institute of Medicine, Dr. Harvey Feinberg, took that notion one step further. Dr. Feinberg said that because of this crisis, VA can now accomplish things now it could never have accomplished before. And so that's what we're going to do. With the continued support of President Obama, Congress, great employees at the VA, and especially with the always strong support of the disabled American veterans and other veteran service organizations, we're going to do what could never have been done before. It's a great opportunity, but it's also a rare opportunity. And it's an opportunity we can't miss, nor underestimate. Before my confirmation hearing, I spoke with Gary Augustine and other leaders of veteran service organizations. And I visited many members of Congress, and again, people asked me, why do you want to be the Secretary of Veterans Affairs? Here's what I told them, and I believe this very, very strongly. To me, there is no higher calling, and this is an opportunity for me to make a difference in the lives of the veterans I care so deeply about. My wife, Deanne, and I both come from military families. Thank you, sir. I'll be happy to read that later. My father served in the Army Air Corps after World War II. Deanne's father was a tail gunner in a B-25 during World War II. He was shot down over Europe, and he survived harsh treatment as a prisoner of war. Deanne's uncle was 101st Airborne Division Screaming Eagle in Vietnam. He was sprayed with Agent Orange repeatedly, and he still receives care from VA. And right now as we sit here, My nephew is a pilot in the Air Force, and he's serving and flying missions today in the Middle East. So veterans are very special people to me. It's just not about me, it's about my family. I graduated from the United States Military Academy in 1975, as I said, with our Deputy Secretary Sloan Gibson, who is a great leader and has done a super job leading the VA in his short period of time here. And he and Margaret are great friends of Deanne and mine. My time at West Point, and then as an Airborne Ranger in the 82nd Airborne Division, instilled in me a lifelong sense of purpose, a sense of duty, a duty to country, and strong values. The words of the West Point Cadet Prayer still resonate with me, still guide me 4 decades later. It encouraged us to choose the harder right rather than the easier wrong. I'm proud of my 33 years of experience at Procter & Gamble, where I learned the important lessons of effective management and strong leadership, and of being responsive, importantly, to the needs of our 5 billion customers who use at least one Procter & Gamble product a day. At P&G, we worked hard and we worked successfully to improve the lives of the world's consumers. Many of those lessons will help us change VA to better serve veterans. At VA, we're going to judge the success of our individual and collective efforts against a single metric, and that single metric is customer outcomes, veteran outcomes, what's good for the veteran. Now, VA's own strategic plan makes this very clear. The strategic plan says VA is a customer service organization. We serve veterans. If we fail at serving veterans, we fail. We've got a lot of work to do. So those values and leadership experiences are what will inform my actions and decisions as Secretary of the VA, just as I promised President Obama, and just as I promised members of Congress, and just as I have been promising all of you this morning. Lessons from the Army and Procter & Gamble translate whether you're an entry-level employee or a head of an organization. And here are a few of them. Have a clear purpose. I have to live by a clear purpose. Living by a clear purpose makes your life meaningful. Meandering through life without a purpose makes your life less valuable. At VA, we have the best purpose in the world, and that's to serve veterans. President Lincoln charged us 150 years ago to care for those who should have borne the battle and for their families. To me, that means providing veterans effective and efficient, high-quality care and benefits that they have earned. What I've told to the people in Phoenix yesterday, you've already earned them. This is unconditional. There's nothing more for you to do. It's up to us to serve you. Another lesson I learned is people want to succeed. Nobody I've met in life goes to work every single day trying to fail. There are over 340,000 employees at VA. Many are veterans themselves. I'm confident that the vast, vast majority of our employees understand our non-negotiable commitments and to put outcomes for veterans at the center of everything that we do. And they want to succeed in that commitment. It's my job to make sure they have that opportunity to succeed. Third lesson, ineffective strategies, ineffective systems, and an ineffective culture are the biggest barriers to success in any organization. VA has a good strategic plan. I believe in it. We just have to make sure that every day we are working together to execute that strategic plan and accomplish our goals. VA has strong institutional values, integrity, commitment, advocacy, respect, and excellence. Taken together, that's an acronym, I CARE, and that's why I wear this button. If we live by those values, if we live by this mission, if we perform every single day consistent with this I CARE button, we can't go wrong. My first day as secretary, I asked all VA employees to join me in reaffirming our commitment to these core values. Most recently, I directed all of our undersecretaries to take the same step and to reaffirm our mission and our values with their people. So the framework for success is there. The most inspiring mission in the world, the right values, an effective strategy. But there have been systemic failures. Somewhere along the way, some in the organization lost track of the mission and those core values. Here's how those systemic failures manifested themselves. You're pretty familiar with these. Veterans are waiting too long for getting care. Our scheduling system is antiquated, 1985, and cumbersome. Our performance metrics became an end to themselves rather than a way for measuring outcomes for veterans. There were widespread attempts to game the system. This, of course, only hid the problem, making veterans wait even longer for care. Employees who were looking out for veterans and identified systemic problems or poor leadership were sometimes punished for doing so. We didn't hold managers accountable who hid poor performance or who retaliated against whistleblowers. We failed to adequately assess or quantify the resources needed to provide care that we are obligated to provide. Now you can put your arms around the failures by describing them in three ways: business problems, leadership problems, and resourcing problems. Leadership problems, like our misuse of metrics and our failure to hold people accountable for negligence and misconduct. Business process problems, like improper scheduling practices, our antiquated scheduling system. And resource problems, our persistent lack of sufficient clinicians, patient support staff, space, information technology resources, and purchase care funding to meet the current demand for timely, high-quality health care. Let's talk about the way ahead. We know that we can't tackle all these issues long-term without critical cultural change and accountability. I think there are already seeds of that happening, and perhaps in some unprecedented ways. Just consider for this moment, from President Obama's nomination of a new Secretary to VA to confirmation and swearing in took only 30 days. And the floor vote in the Senate for that confirmation was 97-0. That's not a commentary on me. Please don't misunderstand my comments. It's clear, it's very clear to me that it's a sign of the nation's extraordinary commitment to our veterans. Thursday, President Obama signed the Veterans Access, Choice, and Accountability Act of 2014 into law. Another significant showing of strong support for veterans. That law allocates $15 billion to VA over the next 3 years. That's $5 billion to hire physicians, other medical staff, improve VA's infrastructure, and $10 billion to fund additional purchase care while we build the internal capability to meet the current demand. The legislation also authorizes VA to enter into 27 new major medical facility leases in 18 different states and Puerto Rico, and to give VA more space for clinicians to treat patients. And it grants VA new authority to remove or transfer senior executives based on poor performance or misconduct. It's all about accountability. My very first day at West Point, as a plebe, I told at that time the lowest form of life on earth. I was told I had 4 answers to anything that ever happened. Yes, sir. No, sir. Sir, I do not understand. And the most important answer of all, no excuse, sir. As I said earlier, the vast majority of VA employees are deeply dedicated to the mission and VA's core values. But where that's not the case, where there's been a violation of trust of the nation or of veterans, there will be accountability. This is about restoring the trust of veterans, of our elected representatives, and of all Americans. Now, you should know I really appreciate the work of Chairman Sanders and Chairman Miller and the many other members of Congress who came together to pass this important legislation. And I appreciate as well the role DAV played in candidly informing Congress of how it saw things as Congress started determining what was needed in legislation to help VA. It couldn't have been done without DAV. As Acting Secretary, Sloan Gibson has been doing some great work. He's grabbed hold of these problems like a pit bull, and he's not letting go. Sloan has us heading in the right direction, and I fully support all the efforts he's put in place already, and here are a few of those first steps that we're already executing. We've suspended all VHA Senior Executive Performance Awards for fiscal year 2014. The 14-day access measure, which has been removed from all individual performance plans to eliminate any motive for inappropriate scheduling practices or behaviors. We've frozen VHA central office and VISN office headquarters hiring. We're making good progress in getting veterans off wait lists and fixing scheduling problems. We've reached out to over 240,000 veterans to get them off wait lists and into clinics sooner. In just the last 2 months, we've made over 791,000 referrals for veterans to receive their care in the private sector. That's up more than 164,000 over the same time last year. Each one of these referrals, on average, results in 7 visits or appointments. So we're talking about 1.1 million additional appointments in the private sector just from increased referrals over the last 2 months. Facilities are adding more clinic hours. We're aggressively recruiting to fill physician vacancies. But here's where I need your help. We have a lot of people to hire. Just yesterday when I was in Phoenix, we have to hire over 1,000 people. We have the ability to do it, but I need your help. I was on a flight flying into Phoenix. I met a gentleman who was working for Lockheed Martin. He asked me what I did. I told him what I was going to do. He said that he had a daughter who was a lieutenant in the Air Force going to medical school. Being a veteran, he talked to her about joining the VA. She said to him, "Dad, haven't you been reading the media? With what's going on in the media, with all the negative talk in the government, I don't want to join VA." I said, "Give me her phone number." I have her phone number in my pocket. I called her yesterday. I'm calling her again today, but I need your help. Help me, please help me recruit the very best doctors, the very best nurses, the very best clerks for the very best health care system in the country. This is a health care system. This is a health care system that had 3 Nobel Prize winning doctors. This is a health care system that by any measure has the best electronic medical record in the nation, and it's open system, so we're allowing private doctors and clinics to use it. I need your help. Now, we're also deploying mobile medical units and using temporary staffing resources to provide care to more veterans as quickly as possible in all of our healthcare facilities. The way we got the backlog down in Phoenix was we brought in mobile units from 3 other locations. And we're posting regular data updates showing the progress on efforts to accelerate access to quality health care for veterans who have been waiting for appointments. If you want to know how we're doing, simply go online. All the data is there. We're updating the antiquated appointment scheduling system, beginning with near-term enhancements to the existing system, leading to an acquisition of a comprehensive, state-of-the-art, commercial off-the-shelf scheduling system. I believe the department will need to continue to expand the use of digital technology because I want to free up resources that can be reapplied back to where the care of the veteran occurs. We're contracting with outside organizations to conduct a comprehensive independent audit of scheduling practices across the entire VHA system beginning early next fiscal year. We've directed every medical center and every visiting director to conduct regular monthly in-person inspections of all their clinics, to include interacting with the scheduling staff. I sat down yesterday at the computer to see the scheduling system myself. We want to assess the scheduling practices, identify any related obstacles to timely care for veterans. To date, over 2,200 of these visits have been conducted. We're building a more robust, continuous system for measuring patient satisfaction to provide real-time, site-specific information on patient satisfaction. We'll augment our existing survey with expanded capabilities in the coming year to capture more veteran experience data using telephone, social media, and online means. We'll also learn what other leading healthcare systems are doing to track patient access experiences. VHA has dispatched teams to provide direct assistance to facilities requiring the most improvement. We're including a large multidisciplinary team on the ground right now in Phoenix. In addition, we've taken action on all the recommendations made in the IG's May interim report on Phoenix. VA is expanding our use of private sector or non-VA healthcare to improve access to healthcare for veterans who are experiencing excessive wait times until we get our capability built. VHA is also improving its monitoring of the effectiveness of our use of non-VA care to ensure veterans receive identical care, good care, great care in the private sector just like they receive in the VA. We're determining which processes need to be reorganized or streamlined and where we need to reorganize to more efficiently and more effectively use resources to best serve veterans in accessing high-quality health care and high-quality benefits. To help with that process, I'm establishing a board of physicians that's going to advise me on best practices for delivering timely and quality health care. We're going to improve our forecasting for resources. Then we can develop an effective strategy. That way we can develop an effective strategy for meeting increased demand. Finally, we're improving communication between the field and the central office, between employees and leadership, with the DAV, with other veteran service organizations, and with all stakeholders. We know we can't do this alone. We need your help. Collaborating closely with VSOs is a top priority if we're going to make the right changes we need to make in the days ahead. And it's not enough to simply listen to your concerns, your thoughts, or your ideas. We have to strengthen our collaboration in changing the VA department. So VA leadership at the central office and in the field is going to work with DAV at all levels, improve the communication, gather your ideas, and make them happen. Right now, veterans are in need. We have much work to do to transform VA into the provider of choice for veterans' health care. But we can't do it without you. Let me close by saying how grateful I am to President Obama and the Congress for entrusting me with this opportunity to lead the Department of Veterans Affairs. I have a lot to learn about VA, and I want to learn as much as possible about the organization and as quickly as possible. But I know this is already the fastest, most up-to-date technology and systems are no substitute for looking at ourselves through the eyes of the veteran. No computer system substitutes for that face-to-face contact and that touch that we have as human beings. When we do that, our direction and requirements become crystal clear. Every time we talk about looking at every issue from the lens of the veteran, it becomes perfectly clear what we have to do. DAV has been doing that going on 94 years, promoting the veteran's perspective. I want to thank you for being a friend of the Department of Veteran Affairs. Thank you for your work, your commitment, and your enduring devotion to veterans. And thank you for sharing your valuable time with me this morning. Thank you very much.